Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Omar Khalid. But today is the 22nd of January 2025. These are the stories that we'll try to understand during the course of the show. We'll begin with the continuation of the first phase of the ceasefire that is going on, despite the different happenings that we also see in which people are being killed in Jenin and in other places as well. The fact is that whether it be Lebanon or whether it be Gaza, it seems as if the Israeli forces are not properly respecting the ceasefire deal per se. Nevertheless, it is a sigh of relief for the people in Palestine, because after 470 plus days they can finally go back to let's put it that way, the lands where they used to have houses, because 80% plus infrastructure has been destroyed in Gaza as we speak. Who will take part in the reconstruction? Will the ceasefire hold? Is what we will discuss in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns reshaping young lives and how education and different scholarship programs do that. Now, there is a US Access program that is also helping in that direction. We will be understanding how that access program helps the young minds and shapes the young minds in order to make them better leaders for the upcoming generations. We'll be having two important guests in that segment. Finally, we'll be talking about two important stories: the murder of Graham Staines by Indian extremists 26 years back on this very day, when the Australian missionary and leprosy physician and his two sons lost their lives in a village in Odisha on the 22nd of January in 1999. Finally, we'll be talking about downpours in Pakistan that have been 40% lower than normal between the September of last year and January of this year, and there's a huge risk of drought in Pakistan as well. That is something that we have already discussed in shows last year and the year before last. This was a report that had been taken by some of the NGOs that had already predicted that way back in 2023. This is the lineup for today. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns the Gaza ceasefire, day 4 and the day 473 of the conflict between Israel and Palestine. We've been joined by two guests, one online and one in the studios. We'll begin with the guests in the studios and then we'll go to the guest online. In the studios, we've been joined by Dr. Gul-i-Ayesha, Bhatti, she's a foreign affairs analyst, and online we'll be joined by Dr. Haissam Bou-Said, who is the CEO of International Human Rights Council in Geneva. Let's begin with you, Dr. Syeda. Now, a lot of things are happening, and especially what I'm very concerned about is what's happening in the West Bank, in Jenin. We normally have a reporter from there, a journalist from there, Osama Mohammed Nazal, and now he is in the midst of all of this as well. Israeli forces have blocked ambulances from accessing Jenin in the West Bank. A 2-day raid has killed at least 10 people and left dozens of wounded. Then Israeli gunboats have been shelled towards the coast of Gaza City in violation of terms of the ceasefire. This also has been confirmed. The UN Special Rapporteur warns if Israel is not forced to stop its genocide of the Palestinians will not be confined to Gaza. Mark my words, he says, and this is what we have been seeing, in fact, unfortunately. Israel's war on Gaza has killed 47,107 people so far officially, and there are tens of thousands of people who are still buried under the rubble, and 111,147 people have been injured. What do you foresee? Is the ceasefire going to stay on? Will this violence that is still continuing beyond the ceasefire end?
Thank you, Umar. The ceasefire was actually the most anticipated moment. It was long awaited, and everybody was looking for this, because the genocide has been, it's a kind of on its extreme. And but side by side, when we look into the actual happening inside the Gaza and the brutality Israeli forces had been doing over there, so ceasefire became meaningless. Although this ceasefire, when we look into the document of it, so we can see that, okay, this ceasefire, the same draft was basically formulated 1 year back. In March 2024, and at that time it was rejected by Netanyahu, and then again it came up in May, and then again rejected, and finally they accepted it, but still the actual standing is somewhere else. So it actually shows that how confused the Israeli government itself is. Because at one time they are doing all kind of brutality in Gaza. On the other hand, they are trying to bring the ceasefire because the pressure is coming from somewhere else. We have seen that Trump get into his office, and there is an unambiguous call from the office to Netanyahu, and Netanyahu has been forced, and he talked about the ceasefire. But on the other hand, when we talk about the human rights violation, the international violation of international laws, and the international and violation and the infrastructure that has been demolished, you know, the recovery is going to take a long time. You know, the hospitals has been demolished, the schools has been demolished, the basic building has been demolished. So it's going to take a long time, but it is going to get to its place back. But what if they are not going to go with the ceasefire, and they are going to violate again, just
and
like
again.
they have been doing it, and
in Lebanon,
yes, Lebanon as well. So if the ceasefire is not there, that means that it's going to be a continued brutality and no reconstruction.
All right. We've also been joined by Dr. Bou-Said, who's the CAO of the International Human Rights Council in Geneva. Thank you very much, Dr. Haissam Bou-Said, to have joined us. Dr. Haissam, my question concerns the prime ministers of both Egypt and Qatar, who have had a meeting on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum's annual meeting in Davos. And this is very recent, in fact, news from today, where they have discussed the full implementation of the ceasefire agreement in Gaza and the exchange of prisoners. We all know both these countries have been instrumental as far as the ceasefire agreement is concerned. But my question to you is the same that I asked Dr. Gul-i-Ayesha as well. Will the ceasefire persist? Will it continue? Will these small violations that we are seeing time and again in Gaza, that we've seen and what we are seeing in Jenin as well, is this going to interrupt the ceasefire, or will the first phase be completed?
No, can you repeat the question? Because I didn't get all the question.
Oh, okay. I will just narrate the question. Will this ceasefire sustain itself in at least in the first phase, that is of 42 days? I was just referring to the meeting that the prime ministers of Qatar and Egypt have had in Davos.
Okay. Yes, good afternoon to everybody and to your guests. First of all, we look seriously to maintain this ceasefire and to go above the date that was fixed for this truce, if you want, because we think that the people of Palestine have suffered a lot, and they need to go into a peace process today and to stop all this humanitarian crisis. And thank God, we think that the humanitarian aid has started very well, and we are witnessing a lot of support from most of the countries that did at the beginning of the war said that they are going to help, and really we are witnessing a lot of humanitarian help to the people of that, to the remaining people of Gaza, if you will. Now, this meeting between both prime ministers, I believe it is the step ahead to make sure that the continuity of the ceasefire will continue after the 42 days, as you mentioned, and we will have a normal life after that, with, of course, a processes on the political aspect, meaning that we should start also thinking of having the parliamentary elections, the presidential elections in Palestine, as well to have a legal Ministry of Councils for the Palestinians to represent fairly the Palestinian people.
But the fact is, Dr. Haissam, that looking at the current state of Palestine, with the 80% plus infrastructure that has been completely destroyed, and the humanitarian state of affairs of the people, don't you feel this step that you just talk about of the elections in Palestine and the council that needs to be made will, I mean, maybe happen in a couple of weeks' time?
Well, I don't believe it can happen in a couple of weeks' time. But we are also making sure to secure the West Bank and not to have another involvement of the Israeli armies within the West Bank, because we are very skeptical on what's going on today in the West Bank. And if the rumors were true, we hope that we have to work with the international communities, with the effective governments that worked to have this ceasefire in Gaza to make sure that the war is not going to be extended to the West Bank. Now, having the elections within 2 weeks, I believe it's a short time. We have to start preparing the ground of it. And it's a process that needs a little bit of time. But I believe that behind the corridors, we have some thoughts of having these elections that I mentioned going into implementation very soon. Now, you cannot ask me when it's going to be. It depends on the situation on the ground. It depends on the regional atmosphere. It depends on how Israelis and Palestinians are going to interact within these days of peace, of truce, if you want, between them. Then after that, I think we will head directly to a fair elections under the United Nations supervision.
All right. Please stay online with us. Dr. Gul-i-Ayesha, let's also talk about the fate of UNRWA. Around 2 million people rely on UNRWA for supplying their supplying aid to them in different forms, in forms of food, water and shelter and medicine and whatnot. What happens at the end of the month when the ban on UNRWA takes effect? Will some other organizations take the mantle of UNRWA, or will UNRWA be allowed to sustain itself beyond the ban?
After the ceasefire, Umar, I think that the Palestinians, they deserve the ease in their suffering, and they have been in this trauma since ages. I'm listening to all these things since my childhood, so they deserve that the suffering should be end. But yes, along with that, how the United Nations peacekeeping agencies and how the international human rights agencies are being targeted in Gaza and Lebanon and Syria is really concerning. And you know, our representative in UNSC, he raised actually this concern yesterday, and that's Pakistan being a peace-loving country. We always appreciate such a kind of ceasefires and truce where the prosperity and peace brings, and we always condemn about the atrocities and terrorism, every kind of wherever it is. But once again, everything is possible once the ceasefire is durable. If this is not durable, then the suffering is still there. Once I will look into the that first stage, so there are 3 things they are demanding. They came on this agreement. The one of them is that there is going to be the exchange of the hostages. Yes, and they agreed on that, and they did that today as well. The exchange of the hostages and captives. And the second thing is that you know, the Israel is going to retreat all its forces from the populous region, and that is a kind of tricky. Now they are not ready to do that. We all know that. And according to the Oslo agreement in 1996, they should respect those agreements in which they should be away from the Gaza Strip, but they are not going to respect this. So here they are going to make this ceasefire become less successful and inactive. And the third thing is that they are going to make this ceasefire in such a way that it should be durable and long. And then there come the second stage and the third stage. Now these stages, once they are crossing the first stage and going into the second stage, they are going. The second stage is more complicated. After 24 years, there are more strong demands both of the parties going to ask. So if Netanyahu is ready to accept the second stage after fulfilling the first stage, that's tricky, because he is going to face so many things in his office back home, where he is having that cabinet alliance as a far right, you know, there are religious nationalist a kind of those settlers, and they have a kind of that movement going on. And you know, sometimes I feel that Netanyahu is being hostage by especially that foreign minister and that that national security minister, both of them, yes, Smotrich, and the other one is, his name is Ben Gvir, and both of them, they are making those statements that makes you know, Netanyahu,
but you know, they are part of his cabinet, and they were the ones who also had opposed the ceasefire agreement when Netanyahu was about to sign it. But let's see what happens in the coming days. But there are a lot of speculations from different parties as far as the ceasefire agreement and its sustainability is concerned. Dr. Haissam, Bou-Said, I'd like to understand something. The Israeli Prime Minister's office denies reports that claims that the Palestinian Authority is going to oversee the Palestinian side of the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt. Egypt. Instead, it says that Israel's Shin Bet intelligence agency is going to supervise this crossing. How do you view that under the current state of affairs when there is a ceasefire in effect? Isn't it already diluting the effect of this ceasefire agreement and the future prospects of it? Can you unmute? Can't hear you, Haissam. Can you please unmute? We still can't hear you, but we'll try to go back to Dr. Haissam. Let's come back to Dr. Gul-i-Ayesha. Dr. Gul-i-Ayesha, police offices and stations in the Gaza Strip have been burned. This is what the people have now seen, and this is what also a lot of organizations are reporting. Hundreds of vehicles, assets have been destroyed. More than 1,400 members of the department have been killed, including the Director General and others. More than 1,950 members have been injured, 211 arrested by Israeli forces during the war. And this is just one part. There are the health workers who have been killed. The number is extravagant, to say the least. Journalists have been killed. And the list, I mean, I can just go on and on. The educational institutions have been completely destroyed, and the students, a lot of children have been killed or been affected by this war. How difficult, in your point of view, will be the rebuilding process once the ceasefire completely comes into effect?
It's something, I mean, I cannot say in a concrete way that it's going to happen in a near future, because it depends on the ceasefire durability and how promising the ceasefire is going to be. But yes, we can look into the matter and say that you know, there are almost hundreds of journalists as well involved, and the people from the international humanitarian organizations and human rights organizations, they have been targeted without any doubt. It's the biggest genocide of the whole century. And once we talk about the reconstruction, it's tricky because it depends on the ceasefire. And as far as the recent incidents are concerned, I can say that the Netanyahu, he wants Gaza unlivable. So once he wants an unlivable Gaza, so he is going to destroy everything. And once he's talking about the ceasefire is challenging. It's, you know, it's text. I read its text in the morning, and that the sentences are somewhere ambiguous, and vague, and it gives more and more space for reinterpretation. So this reinterpretation gives more and more space to Israelis.
All right. So, but let's see again, you know, a ceasefire, at least the end of atrocities, brutalities, genocide, ethnic cleansing, at least the people in Palestine can heave a sigh of relief. I don't know what's going to happen in the next few days, but at least for the moment, this is what they are doing, but they are also devastated by what they are seeing as far as the loss of life and property is concerned. Haissam, coming to you, I'll ask you the same question that I was asking you. The Israeli Prime Minister, did you hear the question? The Israeli Prime Minister's office denies reports claiming that the Palestinian Authority is going to supervise the Palestinian site of the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt. They say the Shin Bet intelligence agency, the Israeli agency, is going to supervise that. How do you view this implementation process? And I'd like to couple it with another thing which concerns the West Bank. The Colonization and Wall Resistance Commission reports that the number of Israeli military checkpoints and gates in the occupied West Bank has now risen to 898. Defense Minister Katz also says the ongoing Aral Wall military operation in Jenin is going to mark a shift in the Israeli army's security doctrine in the West Bank. So the West Bank seems to be, or Jenin seems to be, the focus of the Israeli forces and the Israeli defense industry for the moment. This, coupled with the Palestinian authorities not now controlling the Palestinian side of the Rafah crossing, how do you couple these, and do you feel this is going to put a dent as far as the future of the ceasefire process is concerned?
I was just saying that in order to have the date that was mentioned on the Oslo Agreement, it was in 1993 and not 1996. Okay, just to make sure that the date is correct. Now, regarding the overtaking of the Gaza Strip on the authorities of the West Bank, the Palestinian authorities, I don't believe that this is something that could happen now, because first of all, you have to go into the legitimacy of the representation of the Palestinian people. Since President Abu Mazen was not the elected person. I mean, we have a gap in this presidency. Legally, he's not the president of the Palestinian Authority. So I think that this is what is going to happen in the coming days. And this is what I think Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to take into as an alibi, that we cannot accept the authority because they have a problem with the authority in the West Bank. And I think that even the program of Prime Minister Netanyahu and Israel as a whole for the West Bank is different than what the authorities are thinking about. I think that he's preparing a certain military launch on the West Bank just to cut the road on all possibility that the authority would take over. The Gaza Strip, who's going to dominate the Gaza Strip? I mean, it's not yet clear until now. Let me be frank, because the Israelis are not accepting Hamas as the full representative. They are not accepting the authority of the Palestinians in West Bank to take over the Gaza Strip. So I believe that this coming days will show a lot of interactions, severe interactions between all parties, not only between Palestinians and the Israelis, because you know that most of the regional states that took part to have this ceasefire also have a word to say on that. And I don't think that it's going to be acceptable to have the same scenario that was before the 7th of October 2023. This is why we are calling for a new election to be done very fast and very quick, so that we cut the road on all these rumors and all these allegations that is coming from here and there, because we cannot take this issue as at ease. Taking this issue at ease could create a new confrontation between the Israelis and the Palestinians through the Jenin and the West Bank and all these states that are witnessing today some coalition from if you want, military coalition between the Israelis and the local Palestinians fractions, if you want.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Haissam Bou-Said from the International Human Rights Council in Geneva to have joined us, to have discussed that. And also thank you very much, Dr. Gul-i-Ayesha Bhatti, to have joined us in the studios to discuss the latest as far as the ceasefire is concerned. This is day 4 of the truce. Let's hope we can also talk on day 41 of this truce and even beyond that. Right. We keep our fingers crossed and we remain optimistic and we see the glass half full. Thank you very much. We'll be back after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, education is something that is extremely important. You have seen today how the Danish school was also inaugurated by our Prime Minister. Education is something that is universal in its language because it builds up on individuals, on the youth of any country, which could be Pakistan, which could be any other country in the world. And it is due to the efforts of different national and international organizations that the youth of across the world are building themselves up and gearing themselves to be the future leaders in different parts of the world. Now, the US Access program is one such program. It is reshaping young lives. The Vision Building Future program was established in 2016, which is a startup of Access alumni and is a dynamic non-profit organization dedicated to reshaping the educational landscape. And that's interesting because education is, the basic premise on which your life could be rebuilt. We've got two very interesting guests to discuss different aspects of education and how that can reshape young lives through these different programs. On my very right is Syeda Urooj Haider. She's an alumni of the US Embassy Pakistan's English Access Micro Scholarship Program. Urooj, thank you very much to our show. And I was so impressed when I was reading through all that you've done. And I hope that more and I can meet and interact with more and more people like you, because there's so much to learn from the young people like yourself. Our second guest is US Embassy Pakistan's Regional English Language Officer, Jerrold Frank. Jerrold, thank you very much to have joined us as well. Awesome. Welcome to our show. Let's begin with you, Urooj. Vision Building Future. This is something that has been making waves, and I've heard and I've read about it many a times, but now that we have you here, let's talk about it. As a youth-led organization, can you share the story, how it got established and how it has evolved itself as this major organization over the years?
Yes, thank you so much. First of all, thank you for having me here today and giving the opportunity to speak about my work. So, Vision Building Future was established in 2016, but I think the conceptualization of its idea goes way back to 2009. And that was a time when I was, I would say, just a 10th grader and also enrolled in the Access program. So, I must say that Access was the place which provided me an environment and opportunity where I could just put those traditional academic pressures behind, and we could focus more on other important things such as critical thinking, creativity, innovation.
It is so important, you know, in this, especially in this century, you cannot evolve as a better person, as a better professional if you do not have critical thinking.
Yes, and that's how we got a lot of sense of civic sense and community service and civic responsibility, I would say. And me and some of my Access fellows, we started doing a lot of community work, volunteerism, and then one day we thought that we should have a platform of our own where we could take and lead initiatives and create more and more opportunities for the community, to empower the community. And that's how Vision Building Future came into being. And I must say that little I knew at that time that at such a young age we were thinking too big, and I didn't know that how successful we were going to be, but Alhamdulillah we still stand strong, and through Vision Building Future we are working on education, empowering educators, learners, women, youth, and we have multiple programs and projects running across Pakistan.
All right, Jerrold, you are of course a regional English language officer. But this Access program has been a flagship initiative of your, RELO, or Regional English Language Office. Could you elaborate a little bit about the mandate of this Access program and how impactful has this program as far as Pakistan is concerned since it began?
Well, the Access program began almost 21 years ago. And in that time, we've had it in about 80 countries, and nearly 200,000 students have graduated from it. But the biggest Access program in the world is here in Pakistan. And last year was also the 20th anniversary of the Access program in Pakistan. And in that time, about 27,000 students have graduated from the program. And Urooj is an excellent example of our alumni. And currently we have about 5,000 students in the program all across Pakistan in 4 provinces. At one time we've had Access programs everywhere, including Balochistan. And I think we have it in 27 locations right now. Mandate, it's an important program for us because we're working with young people. And as Urooj mentioned, they learn all these important life skills, critical thinking skills, communication skills. The 21st century skills that are essential for them to be successful in life. And as Pakistan is a very young country, I think maybe the second youngest in the world, I think investing in the young people is an investment in not only in the future of Pakistan, but in the future of our world. And English is a tool for our young Access students to connect to the world and learn many other things. So we're very happy about the program.
And I'm very happy to meet the both of you because, you know, it gives me an interesting outlook on how efforts are being made in order to inculcate the proper education and education processes within the youth of Pakistan. Urooj, what are the key projects and programs that the Vision Building Future is currently working on, and what kind of impact, in your point of view, are they making?
Right, so we have multiple programs for educators, learners, and women. And I would again say that the contribution goes to Access program once again, because many of the projects we are doing in collaboration with Regional English Language Office, and one of those programs is Access program itself. So that is one of our initiative. And then we have Teaching Excellence and Achievement program again with RELO Pakistan, and that is one of the biggest teachers exchange program in Pakistan. And other than that, we have few of our own initiatives for women, where we are educating them on financial literacy and how financial independence is the core theme and core area where women should be, working on and putting a focus on. And then we have another program by the name Beyond the Classrooms, where any educational institution can invite us and we provide them free of cost training to their teachers on digital tools and how to inculcate technology, integrate technology within their classrooms. So these are few of our initiatives, and then definitely for gender empowerment, we have this annual campaign that we run in every month of each month of Ramzan, where we organize this iftar for transgender community and the local community. They both come together, they break the fast, but the primary focus is to break the stereotypes by bringing both communities together, sit, talk, and at times we arrange this iftar in such a way where they prepare the iftar as well all together. So these are few of our initiatives, and if I talk about the impact, so with Relo Pakistan, among the educators, we have empowered around 5,000 educators, and if we look into the ripple effect or the indirect effect of this empowering the educators, around 150,000 students are also empowered, because the estimated number of each class is 30 students each class. So this is some
just
of our
some
work.
a little crux, a little example, a little teaser of all the work that is being done. Jerrold, why do you believe the English language acquisition is particularly critical for young learners, especially in regions such as the subcontinent or in Pakistan?
Not only young learners, I think everybody. I mean, before I came out here today, I was talking with some of your people back there, and they said, could we have an English class as well? English is a tool for us to connect to the world. It's the language of the internet, it's the language of science, technology, it's a way that we share our research. So it's a very important tool, and people have a lot to say, and if you want to be heard, I think English is the language that you can most effectively be heard in. So I think there's a good opportunity for people to express themselves, to engage in the global community, and also to advance economically.
All right. When it comes to Pakistan, how do you feel that this access program, that of course Urooj is a huge part of as well, and continues to be a part of, align with the broader educational or community development goals for example, our country?
As Urooj mentioned, the program was unique, I think, for her, and it still remains unique for many learners, because it's not a traditional program. Students are freer. The teachers are freer. They're not following a set curriculum. They're able to teach the language communicatively. They're learning other things in there as well, community service, developing their soft skills. So those are very important aspects of the program. And speaking of teachers and how it affects the community, we spend a lot of effort and energy in training the teachers. We pick the best teachers. We are very lucky to have the best teachers. And we do a lot of training with them. We send them on exchange programs to the United States. And they share what they learn through our programs in their own communities and in the schools that they're at.
That is wonderful, because I think this interaction that you can have also with other communities, other countries, and other people of your own age in other parts of the world is also extremely important for your own building as a person, as an individual, as a professional. Urooj, as an Access alumni, how can you, if I were to ask you to summarize your journey with this program, what motivated you to join? How did it shape your path forward? What would because if I ask you broadly, we can go on beyond the whole show as well, but in a few minutes, what would the gist be?
Yeah, so this is very interesting for me to answer always, because as I mentioned that I did this program back in 2009, and at that time I was just 15 years old. So for me the most dominating factor of motivation was my own curiosity, because I was just curious to know that what was going on in those unconventional classrooms, because I could see that there were so many fun activities going on, educational and cultural exclusions going on. Then then I was always very much intrigued that how are the teachers so friendly, because we didn't used to get this in our traditional school setup back then. So out of my curiosity, I joined this program to know that what's there to explore, and that's how I became part of this Access program. And later on I realized that academics are important, very important, but there are certain other important things which we should be exploring, and that's what I explored in the Access program through different activities and the language skills, the confidence that this program instilled me. And later on in life, I think this program helped me a lot. In terms of later on, I got the scholarship for UGrad program as well, which is a semester exchange program. And I think throughout that process, I was actually applying all the skills that I gained through Access program. And it helped me a lot in that regard. And if I mention that I started my own passion project at radio, where I hosted and produced a program on social issues. So I did that, and I think a lot of credit goes to Access program because it really worked on my communication and how
because it hones and it develops that skill set that stays on with you throughout your life.
Yes, definitely.
Jerrold, you're smiling, but anyways, now that we have one success story with us in the form of Urooj, would you share some other success stories or notable examples of how this Access program has transformed lives in Pakistan?
That's a good word, transform, and I think that's one of the reasons we support this program so much. I've been a regional English language officer for 15 years. I've been in several countries. I've seen the Access program everywhere, and not everywhere, but about 20 countries. And one key word is transformation. We see that these students come in from underprivileged backgrounds and they change throughout the course of the 2 years. And the teachers as well, I think they want to be in the program because they see the changes happening in the lives of the students in the classroom. And the teachers change too. And it doesn't matter where they're at. They could be in Eastern Europe, Central Asia, the Far East, here in Pakistan. All the teachers and all the students kind of share that same access quality. And to your question, I mean, a lot of the students never dreamed that they'd go to university. And as a result of the Access program, I would say probably 90% end up going. A lot of them get jobs as a result of the skills that they developed in the Access program. A lot of them go on to become professional lawyers, doctors. We hear all kinds of success stories, and we often post them on our social media. This person's done this, this person's done that. So it changes people, and it gives them a vision of what they could be that they might not have had before.
But what they have now become. It's not a could be, is they are now. I mean, the fact also is that, as Urooj mentioned, there are a lot of exchange programs, as you also said, on which the students go to other countries, to the US particularly. What role, in your point of view, does cultural exchange play in this Access program, and how does it benefit the students, apart from the fact that it opens them up to a new community and a new way of thinking as well? But what else?
It's huge. I mean, part of the Access program is for them to get to know about American cultures and values. But I think along the way they learn a lot about their own culture. Pakistan's a big country, you know, many languages, many different varieties of practice, and a lot of people don't even realize that about their own country. And we have Access programs spread across the whole country, and they communicate with each other. They're learning about the traditions and the cultures of the regions. So I think the first part of cultural awareness is getting to know your own culture, so you're able to explain.
That's very important, because a lot of people don't understand. They're more interested in understanding other cultures, but leave their own culture behind. They don't understand the different facets of the culture that is present there. My last question will be to the both of you, but I'll start with you, Jerrold. What are the future plans for the Access program in Pakistan? Are there any new initiatives in the pipeline for a program that, as you said, has been here for quite a couple of years?
Yeah, 20 years. And I think the program's been very successful, and I don't believe it's going away. I mean, we see the success. We talk about it all the time. For every time we launch a new program, or we call for our students, I mean, one cohort of students could be 100 students. We get 2,500 applicants for these. I mean, it's very popular, and people want to do it. So we're committed to keeping it going. We want to continue to enhance the quality of the program. We're constantly evaluating it. We're training the teachers. And one thing that I'd like to do this year before I leave. I leave in July. I'd like to have an Access Summit and bring about 100 Access students from across the country together from all the diverse regions of Pakistan and get together maybe around a theme of community service or something like that. But at the same time build a network and have them learn from each other about their own cultures and their own regions and the diversity of Pakistan.
Wonderful. Urooj, last one-liner because we're a bit short of time. Whether it be community initiatives that you have honed yourself as far as being part of the program is concerned, whether it be the achievements that you have had because of being part of such a program and that you're giving back to the program as well, what do you foresee as your role also for future students that could be part of this program? What can you contribute to it?
All right, so I would say that influenced by my own journey and my own thought process, that students should always be looking for things that are beyond academics, and they should be exploring their own talents, their own skill set where they could shine the best. So I would say through this platform and through Access program, this would be my future mandate as well, to motivating students to not just focus on academics. And I would say that academics are extremely important.
Extremely important.
Yes.
The basis for any person's reshaping of life.
Yes, definitely. But at the same time, students should be focusing their skill, focusing more on other skill set as well, where they could, just practice where they shine the best.
Exactly. I think that is extremely important, and I'm so glad that I met the both of you today, because I will go back home and think a lot of the skill sets that maybe I can hone also now in this phase of my life. Thank you very much to both of my guests, the US Embassy's Pakistan Regional English Language Officer Jerrold and Syeda Urooj Haider, who is an alumni of this US Embassy's Access Micro Scholarship Program. Thank you so very much. Just stay online, stay with me in the studios for about 2 minutes. I'll just have 2 short stories to share with my audience.
Okay,
Firstly, ladies and gentlemen, the murder of Graham Staines by Indian extremists. 26 years have passed since the Australian missionary and leprosy physician Graham Staines and his 2 young sons lost their lives in Odisha on the 22nd of January in 1999. Staines dedicated over 3 decades of his life from 1966 to 1999, and he provided free medical care to leprosy patients in India. So the world remembers him on this day. Finally, downpour in Pakistan has been 40% lower in the period of September 2024 to January 2025. And a lot of people are saying that a drought-like situation might be presenting itself in different parts of Pakistan. Let's hope it doesn't happen there, but El Nino and so many other things because of climate change are to be are the factors behind this whole phenomenon that is engulfing Pakistan. On one hand, we've got floods in 2022, and now this is what a lot of people are saying, that we might have a drought-like situation in 2025. Let's see. The next couple of weeks will give us a more clarity in that respect. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us here in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.